Hi everyone and welcome back to this week's episode of JDP's Questions, Wings and Things. This week we have Marc Orchard from BDO Australia. Let's get this one started. Marc from BDO Australia, how are you today?
I'm well. Well, I'm well now. Let's see how we go by the end of the day.
You will be fine throughout this. Let's get your first wing on the go here.
Let's see how we go.
I'm going to go easy with this one because they do get slightly hotter, not progressively hotter. So a startup approaches you as a business. They've got an MVP out as it stands right now. Can you talk us through the stages of the advisory approach that you take to begin with?
Got you. I think one of the things that most startups forget. This is going to be hilarious. Oh, what's this one called? Megadeth? Like Darth
That's
Vader
just a hotter
death?
version of that.
Yeah, it's going to be great. The thing that they don't think through is the viability of their business model.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the time, they come to us for the first time, and the thing that they want to know is can their business actually scale?
Yep.
And most of the time it's no, for different reasons. So our goal is to try and work out how we
You've
can
had
help
some
them
tears
do
at
that.
dawn, no doubt, with that one. Because
Otherwise,
you've got this consortium or group of people that have got this next greatest idea. They come to you, and is it normally within first meet that it's like, look, this isn't viable?
The first meet's usually trying to work out, from their point of view, what's the most important thing, what does success look like for them? Running a scalable tech company, that's not for everybody. And if I'm honest, if you don't have aspirations of going into San Francisco or into London or Tel Aviv or co, then it's really hard to have a tech company that is solely, based for an Australian market to be able to get critical mass.
Yeah. Cool.
So from our point of view, that's where we start. It's like, okay, what does critical mass look like?
Yep.
What does your pricing model and strategy look like? And how do we go, what's next steps?
Understood.
And for some of them, they love it. For some of them, they need some time to think through because it's the first time someone's really put them on the spot.
Very true.
If nothing else, it's always entertaining, that's for sure.
Like it. Talking of entertainment, how are you faring with that one? You got a very mild sweat on already.
I'm a brand new dad, so everything's entertaining at the moment.
Let's get on with the second one then.
Let's do it.
What tends to be one of the most common mistakes you will see a startup or scale-up making, and also what is the toughest piece of advice you've had to deliver to someone that's got the next great thing?
Got you. Okay.
You grab a bite of that first.
That's right.
This is the name of the game.
I wouldn't dare possibly try to cheat you on this, Sam.
Ooh.
The two things we find is that oftentimes, they haven't done enough work around whether that problem is big enough.
Okay.
And the second thing is whether or not that then turns into an economic engine. I guess a flywheel effect for the money side of things.
Yeah.
Misconception when it comes to growth over profitability, that startups in particular grow at all costs and they don't worry about the money. That's not entirely true. You got to make a model that allows you to generate cash.
Correct.
So you don't have to be profitable, but you have to generate cash.
Yep.
And for a lot of startups, that's not something that they've had much experience with up to this point.
From that revenue
So that's typically what we
perspective,
work with at the first instance, is trying to work out what could this look like, how does that look? And it's not really bad news, it's just a case of, my man, this isn't going to work in the way it is at the moment. So we need to reschedule it, we need to rework it. If you can do that, we might have a business here. If you don't, then let's turn it into a hobby, or let's find a different way, a lifestyle business to generate because of it. Let's not try and raise $2 million and try and make this a big thing when the unit economics don't work.
Correct, yeah.
That's typically the conversation that we have. Just want to say goodbye to my mother. If she's out there, I love you. My wife, it's been great, lovely to know you as well. Tell my kids that I was brave on the way out.
You're going back for that final
I don't want to say I cheated, that's for sure.
final nibble of it. Shall we progress?
We may as well.
What are your views around businesses approaching you? And I'm sure you get lots coming through with the NDA component.
Yep.
And do you tend to find that the businesses out there that are really touting that they've got the next greatest thing, however, investment conglomerates need to sign these NDAs? Do you feel that hampers the progress?
Got you. For people like me or for investors, if you're having an initial conversation to describe what you're working on, what you're doing, then you should have at least the capacity to be able to look at their website or have people with a relationship who can vouch for them, who can give you a bit of a heads up. Now, to be fair, an NDA is only as good as the money you have to protect it.
Good answer to that, yeah.
So realistically, even if you get an NDA signed, if somebody steals your idea and you don't have the capacity to take them to court for that, then realistically they're not really worth much by themselves as a piece of paper.
Do you find that people within the circles of BDO Australia...
That's right. It's like it's a tough question.
Close to my heart, that one.
That's right. I'm really worried I'm going to get sauce in my eye, and then.
Please don't. Please don't.
That's right.
Do you find that you get a lot of people just coming through from referrals?
Yeah, look, I mean, we get a lot of our work is referrals. If I'm honest, for most startups, they haven't really had much anyone really talk them through their numbers before. Now, you said this tastes like tart. I didn't really catch the tart part, Sam, but there you go. I appreciate the fact that you
It's aggressively tart.
So the next one, all right?
The next one. I'm going to go Brisbane-centric on this one.
Yep.
From a Brisbane side of things, are you able to name any companies that you've said have done really well from maybe a Series A, Series B, etc., and a company out there that have done things, in your opinion, right?
Yep. Great question. So, look, Fast, like the guys at Fast. Dom Holland is a Brisbane guy who's gone over to San Francisco. He's done an amazing job. There's been some really good, Andrew Barnes and Go One, the team there have gone through Y Combinator, which is probably done
fantastic. They've done really well over the last 6 months in particular as well, haven't they?
That's it, the most prestigious startup accelerator, and then they've got funding from several really important VCs over the last little while. I would imagine that they would probably be the closest we have to a bona fide global tech startup that's based out of Brisbane. We have some really cool up and coming companies. So people like Clipchamp, Citrus.
I knew you'd say Clipchamp, Citrus AD as well.
Yep.
They started off in LT2.
Yep. And so the thing that I'm really impressed with or really proud of is that there's actually a whole heap of female founded companies that are coming through as well. Female founded companies tend to use capital much better. They tend to have much higher internal rates of return, and so they don't necessarily fundraise and get as much money, but the actual operations inside of a company of female founded companies, from an investor point of view, oftentimes track much better than only men in a management team or a founding team.
Are you saying the smells are more frivolous, I guess?
Well, I'd imagine I don't
let's
want
build it, let's scale it, let's get going.
I don't necessarily want to go past my pay grade in regards to extrapolating what or why, but what I would imagine is that it's being able to have it's just good business sense now, having being able to have a diverse team. But I think that's the exciting thing about Brisbane is that we're tracking quite successfully ahead of other communities in those diverse team metrics, which is great. All right, you might have to share some of your napkins with me because I think I've gone through 27,000 of them. So you do this every week?
I do this week. This is week 15 on this.
Awesome. All right. So what question shall I end my life on?
For a scale up looking to a pro.
This is going to be great because I'm going to die halfway through and then there's going to be a mystery and I'm never going to know what they need to do.
What would your 3 best pieces of advice be to a company, scale up, startup looking to approach you, BDO?
Got you. You know what, by this point it doesn't actually feel that bad.
I told you it plateaus.
So the first thing we typically work with the startups is making sure that the market that they're trying to approach is viable enough for a scalable
Of course, yep.
The second thing then is obviously the resourcing of that, right? So Brisbane in particular, great place to start a business, but ultimately if you want to go global then you need more capital than that, and so being able to find out how you're going to get that money.
Yes.
And we work a lot with our startups around being investable. Then the third is that when you hit hypergrowth, it is literally being on a rocket ship. But one of the things we find is because a lot of the people are doing this for the first time, is that no one gives you the heads up or taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, this is what you should be focusing on this week. What most startup founders just want to know is what's coming next. And so they're willing to engage someone like me because our job is giving them benchmarks to be able to work in between so they have some flags. Now I haven't really eaten a huge amount of this one yet, mate. So you're going to have to
that one's physically got under my tongue. That's why I completely shut up whilst you were talking then.
It's nice that
you can actually see the tears welling in my eyes as you were answering that.
I'm glad that you've met me at the same place that I've been for the last 25 minutes. Shit!
Wait, taxi! That concludes everything. that does conclude everything. And look, thank you very much, Marc Orchard, from BDO Australia. We will see you next week on JDP's Questions, Wings and Things. Take care. Thank you.
I'd like to thank my sponsors, the Academy.